Now, the next thing he said, Genesis 1:28, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth. Now, that is a very simple command. We should all know what that means. He's telling them to have children. Have children. Fill the earth. He didn't just say have one child. It wasn't a one-child rule. He wanted them to have as many children as they wanted. He didn't tell them how many to have. He didn't tell them not to have, because he said, have children. This is a scriptural command. And if you notice what's happening in our world today, there are forces that are coming against this. Their population control and a lot of these things. I'm sorry, folks, but that's anti-scriptural. God did not create this planet and this vast universe and all of the resources, the environment, and put it all here so that people wouldn't have children. It's just the opposite. And again, you know, I'm not trying to buck the system or be antisocial or come against everything and everyone. I'm reading the book of Genesis. I'm still in Genesis 1. And it's like every verse I get to, the world's trying to deny it. The world's trying to twist it or change it. And it's so prevalent right now in our society. I'm not looking for a fight, but it's like they're just challenging every scriptural principle in Genesis chapter 1. So I'm telling you that it is a scriptural command to be fruitful and multiply. And you know what? We've been very successful at doing that. Because when he said this, there was only 2 people on the planet. There was Adam and Eve. He said, hey, be fruitful and multiply. Now there's over 8 billion, 7.9 to over 8 billion. You can understand that number fluctuates. But there's around 8 billion people on the planet. You know, when I was a kid in my teens, they said in the year 2000, you know, there's going to be 2 billion people on the planet. We've far surpassed that. And I think it's a wonderful thing. And I'm telling you, you can almost tell who someone is motivated by how they react to the population. People are negative. They're negative because the enemy's negative. If God says, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, you can guarantee the devil's going to say, don't have kids. I mean, that's just how these things work. So for people to announce these things and to be in favor of population control, and again, I'm a preacher, I'm not a scientist, I'm not an economist, and I don't study a lot of these subjects, but from what I've read, there's no lack of resources on this planet, even now. 8 billion people later, there's no lack. There may be a distribution problem, but there's plenty of food, plenty of water, and plenty of air. Now, we could do a better job distributing, and I think we are, because I believe there's less hunger today worldwide than there was 20 years ago. And there's exponentially more people. So it's just not true that we need to not have kids. And that's the reason I'm saying this, is there are young people today that have been so scared and intimidated and so brainwashed that they don't want to get married and they don't want to have children. Whether they don't want to bring a child into this world, it's too evil, it's too dangerous, or they don't want to burden the planet with another person. They've bought into this lie that we should reduce the population when God put us here to expand the population. That command has not been rescinded, and I want to make that clear to all Christians. The command to be fruitful and multiply was never taken back. So it's still God's desire for us to have kids. And so it's not right to go against that. Now, if you only, there are many reasons to not have children, and that's a personal choice. But overall, God's not saying, the population's too big. I didn't expect this. You better cut back. You're not going to be able to support this many people. Listen, we're supporting 8 billion people, and I just flew across the country a couple days ago. There's all kinds of open space out there. There's all kinds of room for more people. And so if we can feed them, there's plenty of air, there's plenty of space, that's not a problem. And so, I hope you continue to watch this program, and I ask you to give me a chance. Watch more of them before you make your final judgment, because I'm not always this direct about issues. But I just can't keep quiet anymore, especially since I'm teaching out of the book of Genesis about these issues, because every single day you see people eroding or coming against scriptural values with these ideas, and they sound so serious and they sound so important and they're so educated. I'll give you two examples. I watched a person not long ago, a scientist, who said we need to reduce the world's population by 1 billion people. By 1 billion people. Reduce the world's population. And can I just tell you, that's not scriptural. That's not a scriptural worldview. And I don't know where he gets his numbers, but I mean, it's so hard for me to take people at face value anymore, and especially when you compare it to Scripture. And I'm sure he had a reason for saying that, but did he just pull $1 billion out of a hat? Where do you get that number? I mean, 1 billion people? Did he just make that up? How do you know? How can one person really know that the world is 1 billion people overpopulated? Where do they come to that? It's not scriptural. And how do you propose we do this? How do we do this? Do we kill them? I mean, isn't that what Hitler decided to do? I mean, this is not just anti-scriptural. This is dangerous thinking. Reduce the world's population by 1 billion people. Would this scientist like to volunteer to be the first to reduce, you know, is he willing to give his life up to make the world a better place? I just, you know, it's hard to take these things sitting down anymore. I saw another scientist, and they said this, I mean, this is not hearsay. I watched this with my own eyes.